Honorable members, I think we are back. We have a new member who is a friend of the committee, Honorable from Kiambu, Tawa. He's a friend of the committee. Honorable members, we have taken a break, and now the time is for evidence by the county assembly. But before that time, I wanted to tell the council for the county assembly that you told us in the morning that an email was sent to the clerk of Senate, and we want to report back that we didn't get an email. However, the council for the deputy governor said he didn't have any issue with us admitting the documents. So I just wanted to ask now, the two of them, both councils, do you have an issue for us to admit before we go into the evidence? Yes.
Other than my observation on lateness, nothing else. I have no objection.
Good. Then, being the case, can we have the 22 copies, please? Distribute a copy to each member. As you do that, we have information that the county assembly you have for witnesses. We want to request that all the four can move out. They'll be put in an holding room. You agree who will come first? And then you also tell us, how are you going to share the time? You have 3 hours, 30 minutes. So you agree among yourselves so that we know each witness will take how much time, which includes also cross-examination and point of orders from members. So please, maybe we need to do that quickly so that we save on time.
Chairman, perhaps just a suggestion, although the question is not to me.
Yes.
Perhaps the best way or the most equitable way for them to deal with time is in the back of their minds, let them remember that they have 3.5 hours. It is for them to use it as best as it can, because for cross-examination, it's difficult to tell how truthful the witness will be. We will have to push him until he is truthful. So they have 3.5 hours. It's up to them how they use it. That's just my suggestion.
They'll also take an oath. You know, when you take an oath, some of us are Christians. We believe after taking an oath, you're not going to lie under oath.
Honorable Chair, I believe Council Nyamodi is not talking for us, but again, when it comes to cross-examination, he'll have to be limited because it may take the entire 3.5 hours.
I'll be able to control that.
Yes.
Good. So where are your witnesses?
Our witnesses are in the holding room, Chair.
Good. Sergeant Atam, you may call the first witness.
Francis Otiato. Chair, before the witness comes, he's a very tall man, and he'd requested that he was never taught to talk while sitting down, and he wanted to testify while standing. I don't know if arrangements could be made.
No, it's okay. If he's blessed in terms of either stability, let me see when he arrives. You know, tall is relative. Good. Now, what's your name?
Oh, thank you, Chair. My name is Francis Otiato, MCA Imbo East.
Good. Francis Odiato, MCA, Siaya County. You may stand and take an oath.
Yes. I, Francis Otieno Otiato, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this special committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Good. Now your time starts. You can do your submissions now.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I wish that I will be able to stand.
You may stand, no problem, so long as you know the mic is lower. So
I'm very comfortable standing. Okay.
yeah, you can put it on top so that it's nearer to you, because we need your evidence in record.
Okay.
Chair, I believe I'll be guiding him on his evidence. Chief.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, good.
Use two books to help him, so he doesn't have to bend. You can put another book, please.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Like I've said, my names are Francis Otieno Otiato, MCA Imbo East, and the former chair of the ad hoc committee on matter impeachment or removal of deputy governor. And Mr. Chair, I want to make a confirmation that yes, yes, Mr. Chair, I want to confirm that I was the chair of the special committee that investigated the removal from office of the Deputy Governor, Mr. William Oduol, by impeachment. That on 22nd May 2023, the Honorable Gordon Onyango Onguru, MCA East Assembly Ward, gave notice of motion seeking to remove the Deputy Governor from the office by way of impeachment. And by that, Mr. Chair, just to give a direction or maybe to guide the committee on the genesis of this, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, I want to inform the House or the committee that we had an initial process in which, Mr. Chair, a motion was passed in the House of the Assembly that followed some utterances by the Deputy Governor and some of his writings in one of our social media platforms, bitterly complaining about the state of affairs in Siaya. And Mr. Speaker, in the wisdom of members of the Assembly who are charged by the responsibility of doing oversight, we did find it well that we invite the Deputy Governor to the House to shed more light on his utterances. Few of the utterances he made at a funeral, and others he made on a write-up on our social media platform. And I hope the videos relating to such utterances has been provided before the committee, and I think through the guidance of our lawyers, it will be used herein for evidence. Mr. Chair, based on that, I wanted to make that clear so that we distinct between these two processes, that the initial motion and its limits and terms of operations were only requesting the Deputy Governor to provide us with information in relation to the utterances that he made. It was not a censure motion. It was not meant for anything. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, if you go to even the recommendations was a bit general, because the intent of the motion was that we get to know what was going on. And Mr. Speaker, I move on to say that based on...
Chairman, perhaps, if you will allow me to interject. The witness has supplied us with a statement, or we have been supplied with a statement on behalf of the County Assembly of this witness. My sincere belief is that the purpose of that witness statement is so that we have notice of what the witness is going to say. Some of the things the witness are saying are not contained in his witness statement. So perhaps, Chair, through you, I can ask that he confines himself to the witness statement.
Chair, may I respond to that?
Yes, you may, but I'll give direction.
Yes, Chair, if you hear the content of what the witness is saying, is basically trying to demonstrate the procedures that were followed, and is giving a background, the genesis to what culminated into the impeachment motion. So that is, in as much as it may have been stated briefly or summarily in the statement, he's trying to elaborate what he has in his statement.
You are basically trying to build a case,
Yes.
to build your case. But you need to know that you have a limited time so that you can focus on your statement that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Because we are not going to entertain anything new. So just focus so that we also
Thank you,
can
Mr.
get
Chair.
opportunity.
Mr. I stand guided, but again, Mr. Chair, just to say that it was nice for the committee to also know it, because from the hearings, there are confusion between these two particular processes, and I wanted to make it clear so that we move forward. So, Mr. Chair, you find that on that motion, even the report, it's very clear on a general administrative, it was not a censure or anything. There was nothing that was needed to be achieved by that motion other than getting information.
I'm constrained again. The issue of that report does not feature in his witness statement, and we have no notice of that evidence. And
So,
like I said, the purpose of the witness statement is to give notice.
Witness, can you please restrict yourself
Mr. Chair,
to your statement?
I think Council Modi hasn't read his documents. That report, which is alleging is new, is contained in volume 2 of our bundle of documents. Actually, it's the second last document in the bundle of documents.
The report is produced with no context. Now the witness is attempting to give it context. That's my point. It was up to him to give it context in his witness statement so that we have notice.
So please, Francis.
Mr. Chair, I don't know how to go about it, but then through your guidance, how I wish that the learned friend tells us that the statement is just a guidance and it cannot contain everything that I wanted to say. It's my guidance to how I'm going to present but not everything that I'm going to say.
What I want you to do, can you please restrict with yourself to the written statement? Then when we are doing cross-examinations, you can bring that background. In fact, what you just said, I wish, while you are doing the preliminary earlier, it would have been done. But just restrict yourself so that also, the counsel for the DG is going to eat into your time if you don't restrict yourself. I'm just trying to help you so that you adjudicate this thing properly.
Thank you, Chair. Standing guided.
Which page is it?
Chair,
The
with your
report?
kind permission for purposes of record.
For the page?
Yeah, Chair, on this sort of procedure legally, when you go strictly the way the council or the DG is saying, then it means then you go by affidavits only. But when he's giving the voucher evidence, then there can be a little leeway, but still stay within the limit. Chair, this is for the purpose of the records.
Yeah, that's why I've said he was giving a background, and while you are giving background, also you save yourself time. You don't waste a lot of time.
Mr. Chair, the report is at page 1042. Yes. Of volume 2. Yes.
I have no problem, Chairman, if the witness refers to the report, because the report is in the bundle. The witness has produced the report without context, and that is how it should remain on the record of the Senate. He now can't put context on the record.
No, we don't have the content he's talking about. We have the report here. We have his 10 for the 2 members.
Yeah, that is just for record. Yes. That is the report dated May 2023.
Yes.
Committee on General Oversight.
That's right.
Okay.
So let's proceed.
Can we be given the reference once again? We are lost, some of us.
It is volume 2, page 1042. The report by the General Oversight Committee.
The big file.
The big bundle.
Yeah, the big bundle. Yeah. Please kindly assist members quickly. Francis, yes, Umkeni.
Yeah. Now that we have it,
Yeah.
I just wanted, because I was making notes, so in what context can we now hear your statement? You are making reference to this report, so that we follow your evidence before us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. On the context of this report, I'm reporting. I wanted to make it clear to the Senate that this was not a report on a censure or any sort of disciplinary towards the DG, but it was an invitation of him to present for us some information about the allegations he made in or his public utterances on how the Siaya is being mismanaged. So that was the imports and the limits of that. It was not a censure or anything else. And therefore, with that then, through my evidence, Mr. Chair, I wanted to dispel the import of or the statement of double jeopardy. That in this matter, it was not a double jeopardy. The imports of this is totally different from what we really presented. Mr. Chair, that forming the basis of part of information that we have, and that will take you to the references of the 4th charges, Mr. Chair. We did, in the motion of the Honorable Member presented, that is the motion by Honorable Nguru, presented a few grounds. Some of the issues included the interference with procurement process, the abuse of office, bulldozing officers, misuse of public resource, bullying, misleading public by giving false information. So, Mr. Chair, in part of that report, majorly, you will find when you go to section 4, where we are dealing with the misleading of the public officers by giving false information, the major evidence is presented in this report, because based on the information that was presented to us, then being the documents of the assembly, it was then utilized by the assembly through that honorable member to process the said information. Mr. Chair, on the ground of interference with the public procurement, Mr. Speaker, it was alleged that the Deputy Governor interfered with the procurement of and supply of certified seeds, and which is in contravention with the law. And Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm this, that through, as the chair, while we interrogated the Deputy Governor, actually it came out clear from his statement of his trying to inquire about these processes following some other articles that he saw somewhere. But again, these are the activities that our witnesses were, some of the witnesses who were complaining, said led to abortion of the process of procurement. Mr. Chair, it was then committee's observation that actually the Deputy Governor ought not to have interfered with this process at that particular time by maybe asking for those information. But again, it was also peculiar when we read the statements, or from his own writings, Mr. Chair, when he said that the tendering process is has some interesting recommendations, the kind of descriptions that he was giving, and at the same time, when we asked him questions, he claimed to be very much into professional field, and he believes on professionalism. Then we asked one simple thing, that are you a professional on procurement? Mr. Chair.
On that point, Mr. Otiato,
Yes.
on the point of procurement of seeds and fertilizers,
Yes.
and you are alleging interference.
Yes.
Did you have a witness who actually confirmed that there was attempted interference by the deputy governor?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
The witness was the director of procurement.
Yes.
That made his statement.
And who is the director of procurement?
Director is Mr. Okwata.
Mr. Martin Okwata.
Martin Okwata is.
Yes. And did he appear before the assembly?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did he record a statement with the assembly?
Yes.
And according to Mr. Okwata, what was the nature of the interference by the deputy governor?
One, the procurement.
Chairman, perhaps because Mr. Okwata is a witness, it would be hearsay if that question is then answered. It is Mr. Okwata who said it, and Mr. Okwata is a witness. So perhaps that question can be put to Mr. Okwata. It is not this witness's testimony.
Chair, what we are trying to say is that this evidence was given to the assembly by a particular person, and that is what formed the basis of the opinion that there were.
What you can proceed.
So, Chair, you know, this interruption keeps confusing me. What I've been following, you are making allegation that there was interference with procurement, and you are our first witness here. So I expect you to tell us on this particular allegation, this is the evidence I'm bringing before the committee, so that we follow. Whether it convinces us, that is us to pass judgment, but you tell us on procurement, there was interference, the evidence is on this volume, this is where you find it. Then, Chair, later on, the council is at liberty to challenge the veracity of that evidence. If it is hearsay, he will take that up on cross-examination. Otherwise, with this interruption, we will never follow up, you know.
And I think that's where I was leading the witness to demonstrate. Yes.
Okay, the witness and your counsel, you know, from what Senior Counsel Mgwene has said, you know, basically, it is not your business. You know, you are trying to lead the witness to confirm something while the person who is supposed to confirm, and he'll tell us and give us the documents, I think they're already here, is also a witness. So basically, just wrap it up so that you also don't waste your time.
Yes.
Because, you know, you're trying to build a conversation towards somewhere.
Yeah, which is very key in examining Chief Chair, but I'll let him proceed. Please.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I did say that on that particular charge, and I'm saying this, Mr. Chair, that I have the liberty.
And I want you to proceed from the way the Senior Counsel said. You know, you do your case, you say this is the allocation, and at the county assembly, when the witnesses came,
Yes.
These are the documents they brought, you verified, that's why you arrived at impeachment of the deputy governor, so
Yes.
that, you know, you help yourself.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, on those particular issues, and I think this is where you have a bunch of the other evidence there that I'm not having here, but I hope they will be bringing them in each and every case that we are presenting. On the issue number one, Mr. Chair, on the interference with the procurement for contractors for various projects in the county, that a supply of delivery of certified seed and fertilizer contrary to provision of Section 41 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal, which states that procurement function shall be handled by procurement professionals whose qualifications are recognized in Kenya, Mr. Chair. we did invite the Director of Procurement, who made a statement herein attached in a part of our report as an evidence, and I hope
that will be found in bundle number 2, between page 354 and page 509.
Okay, honorable members, you can peruse 354 to 509.
Yes.
As
more specifically, look at the written submissions and evidence by Martin Okwata. That's page 376 to 409.
So 354, so that we are together. That's the one dated 13th of April 2023.
Yes.
At page 354.
Up to 509.
Up to 509.
But specific to the issue of procurement, the one he's addressing is between page 375 and 409.
375, 49. You can just check. Proceed, witness.
Yes, Mr. Chair. On second issue, the Deputy Governor coerced the head of procurement unit to give him raw evaluation reports for the tender and supply of delivery of certified seeds, Mr. Chair. On this also, we rely on the statements from we relied on statement from the Director of Procurement, Mr. Chair, and again the statements that were made by the Deputy Governor on his own submission on how he ended up inviting the Director of Procurement to his office, Mr. Chair. And I also think within that scope, that explains that particular section. Mr. Chair, on the Deputy Governor William Ruto unjustifiably relying on authority of office of deputy to cause change by coercion on certain specific 86 tender documents for the road construction, Mr. Chair. Here also, other than the statements of our Director of Procurement, we were also relying on email that was sent between email transactions between Director Okwata and one procurement officer for roads and the CEC roads, and also attached within that particular scope, Mr. Chair, where at the middle of the night, Director of Procurement had to send an email to save his face for the next day's meeting. Mr. Chair, as I conclude on that particular issue, number one, by engaging in actions explained herein, Mr. William Oduol, being not procurement officer with qualification recognized in Kenya, acted at traverse to the provisions of the procurement law. By that, Mr. Chair, we were looking at general, going to the public, making those public statements, and trying to call or change this particular procurement, and yet he's not a professional within the systems and a system that he believes in. We found him having committed offense in relation to that. Mr. Chair, on our second count of abuse of office and gross misconduct, and on that, Mr. Chair, we talked about bulldozing of officers. In our preliminary remarks here, Mr. Chair, you heard about, majorly, we are talking about 2 officers that we were able to interrogate. And this is the Director of Procurement, Mr. Okwata, and the Director Finance, or Chief Officer Finance, Mr. Odinga, Jack. That, Mr. Chair, on the basis, without reading verbatim, Mr. Chair, that on this prior request for changes or for a particular changes on procurement procedures and procurement, and there was too much pressure, and according to our witness who will appear here, Mr. Chair, and I think that will be presented by him himself, he felt, having been told of several times, that he be ready for a harsh working environment or just simply quit. He felt so offended, and even by the time he was posting some of these documentations, he was doing at night when he could not actually even sustain himself. That is why when he speaks, Mr. Chair, you will be here, you will hear for yourself what the kind of officer and what officer was going through.
Mr. Chair, that evidence is found at page 666 to 667, and then 677 and to 740. 666 up to 740. They're contained in the evidence provided by Chief Officer Finance and Economic Planning. And then also on the one by the Director of Procurement in the pages that had earlier Ron alluded to. You'll also see page 626 to 665 on the evidence by Martin Okwata.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good, proceed.
Mr. Chair, on the chief officer, Mr. Chair, because I will not have time to come about this, Mr. Chair, on the effects of bullying, as said, or bulldozing, it was a considered opinion from these particular officers that the reasons why they are now suffering all the attacks and harsh working environment by the deputy governor is a position that they took previously. And as such, you will find in our evidence attached email instructing payments to specific contractors by the deputy governor, despite the fact that he was chairing the subcommittee on a pending bill, and it was required statutorily that within that he needed to submit that for consideration within the executive committee, and then the chief officer finance or the CEC finance picks it and now continue with their departmental maneuvers. But here there is a feeling from the particular officer that by deputy governor writing emails to him instructing on particular, despite the fact that we have approved 100 companies to be paid, the deputy governor writing on specific companies to be paid, then he really felt that that was a cause of problem to him.
Yes.
And as such, therefore,
yeah, that evidence again is contained at page 666 to 740, and then at page 741, 666 to 676, then 677 to 740, and then additionally there is 781 to 919.
Chairman, again.
Evidence supplied by the Chief Officer Finance.
Chairman, again.
The only thing I've not seen, Chair, can you tell us where is the email? The email being
attachment of the emails.
Chairman, again, just a question. The witness is referring to documents attached to witness statements of other witnesses. He's referring to them in detail to the extent of giving conclusions as to even how the witness felt. After he has concluded his testimony, is there any really need to call the other witnesses?
Excuse me,
and that
Chair.
was the point. It is not his testimony.
Excuse me. Onyonga, just hold on. I wanted to give him opportunity to finish. Yes, Onyonga.
Senior Counsel Nyamudi, you're guiding the process, which you should indeed let him present and come and debunk. Don't stop him doing it. Use that even as an advantage to yourself. Why are you stopping him?
Proceed. You know, I've been watching you guys in court, and always you repeat yourself. So what is, if they are going to repeat themselves, it is part of what we do as work. Repetition is not. It's only in Parliament when we are debating. You are guided not to be monotonous, but in court, I think you entertain a lot.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I hope through your guidance, and I'm keenly that I hope the committee is also observing possible interference by learned counsel to eat into my time, and I hope you are keenly monitoring those two things.
Chair, I'm sorry, we just want them to tell us on which page are the emails found in that.
Please indicate to us the emails, because we don't want in record unanswered that you said there are emails that were sent at midnight and there is nothing in the files, so that you confirm. If they're not there, then we tell you to withdraw.
Look at page 500 to 505. The emails are attached.
That I've just seen, it was sent in the morning, 8:17 a.m. I'm interested with the one that was sent at midnight. Yes.
Yes, there is the one at the
2:13 a.m. Chair.
2:13
On your right corner, 2:13 a.m.
13 a.m.
And 5:53. That's at night. 553. Page 553.
$553, the same email with the one in page 500.
And we'd also want to get the email from the deputy governor instructing on paying particular contractors.
We'll get for you that in due course.
Okay.
Let him proceed.
Proceed, Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, that was I was without any man. I was referring to the aspects of bullying that is in our number 3 issue. Mr. Chair, you will allow me that I'm not presenting my own evidence. I'm presenting the report and the spirit of that report, and I have to express it, Mr. Chair, so that when you read, you also feel what I felt like the chair. Mr. Chair, just to clarify on the issue of bulldozing officers, Mr. Chair, and in this bulldozing officer, we relied on the fact that the deputy governor authorized or made a renovation in his office, knowing very well that there were no budgetary provisions to that effect. By calling some of our few members who will also appear here as witnesses, Mr. Chair, that is our county secretary and director of procurement, he did instruct on items to be done and made calls to confirm whether they were done or not, knowing very well that there were no budgetary allocations to the same. And Mr. Chair, that as a committee, what we really was our concern, that yes, the deputy governor claims to have been made by the governor to ensure that he established a system that is foolproof, a full financial system. But here then we question where and why will the deputy governor only provide foolproof systems on items that are favoring him, that are not favoring him. But what is coming to his office, he don't know. This foolproof system didn't notice that there were no budgetary allocation to spend up to about 18 million to renovate his office outside the budget. So looking at that, Mr. Chair, and based on his response, we really found that the demeanor and behaviors and the statements from Deputy Governor was unbecoming and was never truthful. And as such, we made a decision that he was not free, Mr. Chair, on those particular allegations. He was very particular, knowing details by details on procurement of fertilizer and seeds, but he claims to be knowing nothing in what is happening in his office, and even at the chair that he is sitting on. While the members or the committee members or the office members, including county secretaries, were very particular that for sure they were forced into purchasing those particular items. That he did make a call when he was in Mombasa, that when I'm coming from East Park meeting, I must find those works done.
The invoice is at page 545. The one containing the chair for 1 million and a desk for 1 million. 545. 545. 545. Where furniture was bought for 11 million.
The total furniture is 11 million. The supplier there is Oduol. Yes, the total is that. And Mr. Chair, you know, one you want to know the ridiculous thing about this particular thing, about the office that we are talking about, that as much as we have known that the money which was only available for the department, the whole Department of Governance for furniture was 5 million. But then here we procure items worth 11 million furnitures outside the budget. To it, Mr. Speaker, we buy orthopedic chairs, we buy presidential seats worth millions of shillings. We soundproof a room. At that particular time, you will listen, when you listen to that particular video, there are complaints that the key pillars of Nyalore government, which headed by the governor and the deputy, had a priority of fertilizers. And fertilizer was not there, seats were not there for our people. Mr. Speaker, we did find that the deputy governor was culpable. In misuse of public resource, Mr. Chair, on this particular one, in around November, deputy governor was invited as an ISPAC member with the number there written. Mr. Chair, when you are invited into your professional meeting, Mr. Chair, we expected that the deputy governor, being a member of ISPAC, he ought to have gone there as a member of ISPAC, and his representation then, there were nothing, he was never invited there as the deputy governor of Siaya. He was given invitation letter, we invite you, Dr. William Oduol, ISPAC number. So that was specific to him, to these officers. Therefore, when there was any other payment, when we asked him questions, what he told us, that actually he was even a keynote speaker. Then we said, if you're a keynote speaker, then you must have been in payroll of the other people who invited you as their keynote speaker. But if not that, and you went there in your private capacity, why then carry these delegations of a number of people, including advisors? You are looking for an advisor to go and advise you on matters ISPAC. So, Mr. Chair, at that particular meeting alone, there was a spending of over 400,000. He went there with the driver, with some other officer, totaling to about 5 other officers, taking a lot of their time there with no specific responsibility in relation to that particular activity that was going on. Mr. Chair.
While he's proceeding on to the next level, you had asked about the emails which were directing specific contractors to be paid. They are found at page 834, 841, and 834, 841, and 865. So you'll find an email and an attachment.
Witness, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, and honorable members, I move to an issue of misleading the public by giving false information. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, you will realize that on this is the genesis, or this is the main issues as raised, because, Mr. Chair, while we were doing our investigations, and for sure the deputy governor made his statements in some other forums, and going to the funerals and making allegations about the performance of Siaya, then in this our own spirit we realize that possibly the deputy governor has missed the point or has lost the trust on the system that are available. We invite him to provide him that opportunity so that he talk to Siaya people in an assembly which is a house of records for anybody else to understand what was going on, Mr. Chair. And therefore, when he brought his issues, he did his responses on that. Based on those responses, part of the allegations, Mr. Chair, that in his initial statements on a video that will be played to you later, he made utterances as to reallocation to disadvantage a Lego sub-county, that current bursary on that funeral, that the current bursary allocation and maize seed distributions are riddled with corruption, certain officers are targeted for removal from the county office, and that the funds for Siaya Stadium were reallocated to Bondo, for Migwena, such information, Mr. Chair. And then, these are what we found, Mr. Chair, that on the issue of reallocation, Mr. Chair. And to make this matters worse, Mr. Chair, and we were confirming the spirit that he has always said, and he has said it in his statement. You find those statements, you'll find it there, that he's not a believer on the general consensus. He will speak his mind, and he will say whether bad or good. Mr. Chair, on supplementary one, that was subject to approval by the Assembly, having been approved by this, the Executive Committee, which the Deputy Governor sits, they approve transfers of some funds, but not on this particular stadium. And Mr. Chair, whether the Deputy liked it or not, in the spirit of responsibility and people working together for the better of Siaya, he never made any statement, even in the committee meeting when they were presiding there. But he made false accusations at a funeral that money is relocated. When we called the CEC Finance before us to tell us how the money was relocated, we really found that, sure, the stadium was less around 800, was it 800, around 800,000 or 800,000. That was added for completion. Instead of removal, it was added. But him in a funeral, he incites the Alego when he's in a funeral in Arego, telling them that, you know, there is nothing going to happen. Money has been removed, taken to Bondo, which was totally false, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on discriminatory...
Before he moves on, there was the question of the ISPAC meeting, where 422 was spent on the Deputy Governor's personal issues. It's found at page 563 to 565. 563 to 565.
Let's proceed, Francis.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, he then again made an allegation that in supplementary 2, most of the projects were removed from the budget to disadvantage Alego sub-county. As such, Mr. Chair, indeed, we have got the report also attached. I think